Okay, so chapter 13 is all about desensitization. And I start that chapter with a story about a former client named Max, who lived by the beach in New Jersey and when he was young, when he was 1, and all of a sudden he started freaking out from the sand and from a bunch of other things. So Max moved to Pennsylvania near my house, and I became his early intervention professional. He was not diagnosed with autism because he had an autism evaluation, and he screamed the entire hour-and-a-half session at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So they were unable to diagnose him or tell if it was autism or not. They sent him on his way. Mom moved to Pennsylvania. I became their professional. And early on, I was probably only there for a couple of months and didn't know Max very well, was really trying to get his problem behaviors under control. He would scream and cry and hit his mom. And one day I showed up and Mom said, we need to get Max a haircut because we have like a formal event coming up or pictures or some kind of situation where she wanted his haircut. So I know, because I've been in the autism world for 2 decades, first as a overwhelmed parent of Lucas, who had autism diagnosis right before he was 3. And I know we had some problems with haircuts early on, and we had to do a lot of intervention. So, dragging Max to a haircut all of a sudden without any planning did not seem to be a good idea to me. But Mom was really adamant that she wanted his haircut. And so I was just like, okay, I'll go along, but I am not looking forward to this. And it was a disaster. We went to a haircut salon that was like Cost Cutters or something like that, like $10 or $20 haircut. They tend to not get the most seasoned professionals there. We walked in, he was already screaming. And they looked at like the newest girl at the shop and basically was like, well, it's your turn. And the girl looked like she was going to, deer in headlights. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. I kind of stood back and, let Mom do what she was going to do for haircuts. But it was not good. Max didn't get a good haircut. It was traumatic for all of us. So when we came out, I was like, okay, that can never happen again. We need to really make a plan and lots of different things that we have to put in place. So for those of you that have been tuning in for any of my lives, you probably are aware that there's 4 steps to the Turn Autism Around approach. The Turn Autism Around approach is based on the science of applied behavior analysis. It's based on years of my work with the verbal behavior approach. And it's also based on over 2 decades of me in the autism world as a behavior analyst, as a parent, as an advocate, as a registered nurse, looking at the whole picture. So there are 4 steps to the Turn Autism Around approach: assessment, planning, teaching, and evaluating. And we're going to talk about 3 of those steps, which I think are most important, whether we're talking about making a plan to make haircuts go better, to make doctor's visits, COVID testing, wearing masks. I had one client, well, not a client, an online participant that all of a sudden her daughter started freaking out with the bathtub. So how to break down any skill and basically desensitize it or pair or repair the activity. So the first step we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you 3 steps to take. The first step is all about assessment, and I did a live on assessment. I have a whole chapter on assessment. I have a 1-page assessment that you'll be able to download. There's self-care checklists. There's just a lot of step-by-step guidance here, but, pick the thing that is really the most crucial. And that can be for any family. Some people like to start with something they can really practice every day, like nail cutting, for instance. Because if you get good at nail cutting, which you can literally pretend practice, really practice, get him good, then you'll have the same techniques to work on haircuts, and you'll have the same techniques to work on dental visits or doctor visits. Working on dental visits is hard because it's only every 6 months or every year. But working on haircuts, which might be every month or two, working on nail cutting, is more amenable. And certainly if you are like Michelle with her daughter all of a sudden freaking out with bathtubs, then that's something that we definitely want to tackle, because it's going to involve a daily or every other day struggle. And we don't want kids crying, and we don't want kids afraid, and we have to really repair the situation as quickly as possible. In a lot of ways, this is like if you have, phobias, and a lot of it is like desensitization. But I mean, if you have like a serious mental health phobia, you probably need a little bit more guidance on this. But this is like the general ways where you can repair something. Even a toy like Mr. Potato Head can get unpaired, or definitely feeding and foods can get very unpaired. Utensils can get very unpaired. And we have a chapter on feeding in the book. So, some of this isn't going to apply. But assessment is your first number one step for basically everything. Everything you want to change. You have to assess where you're at. What are the steps where your child is not doing well? Is it every time you get out the nail clippers? Is it when you approach the haircut place? Is it when, Lucas was always good with the doctor visit, but when they got out the otoscope, like there was no checking his ears, because in the past he was held down by 6 people and he was 5 or 7. So my number one thing is don't hold kids down. Don't cut nails while they're asleep. And when I've done it, like I totally get it, but that's not helping the situation. And you might be able to cut their nails, quietly while they're sleeping if they're dead asleep. But that's not going to translate into them trusting you, them building up like this doesn't hurt, trusting like even if something does hurt, it's going to be quick and we're going to have a reinforcer or reward right afterwards. So like Lucas, for instance, today just went for an allergy shot. He gets allergy shots once a month now. He used to get them once a week. But if, that's not painful to him now. He knows what to expect. He got a COVID test. Like, it's just a system. So the assessment is number one. And not just he freaks out with a haircut. What parts of the haircut does he freak out for? What parts of the situation does he freak out for? When the mom reported that her daughter all of a sudden was freaking out with a bathtub, I asked the question, did somebody hold her down for a medical procedure or something recently? Because that will do it. And sure enough, the little girl was held down for an MRI test the day before. And you would think, well, how is that affecting bathtub? But it does. So in general, unless it's an emergency where, the child needs 10 stitches and there's just no other way to do it, and you have to hold the child down and get the stitches, okay. But, haircuts, we're not holding kids down. Foods, we're not holding kids down. We're not having screaming matches. Even ear checks. I mean, is it that big of an emergency? Usually not. So we have to pair it up while the child is calm. So the second step that you need to take, and this is all outlined in chapter 13 of my book, is to plan. To make a plan, to write down the steps of the haircut, the steps of the bath time, the steps that you're going to do, and to repair it. So for the little girl that wouldn't get in the bathtub, I told mom, take it all the way back to her getting in the bathtub with no water in the bathtub, fully clothed. Then systematically, okay, now there's water in the bath, and systematically she faded out. She faded in the demands and got the girl to, within a week or so, of systematically pushing the envelope, getting her calm, and then pushing it, she was able to get the girl within a week or two to be requesting more bath time, to really turn it around. So planning includes practice sessions. And even though you think, well, I can't practice the dental visits. Well, yeah, you can. You can go to the dollar store and you can get fake dental equipment and practice. I have a video blog on that, so you can search Mary Autism Dentist or Mary Autism Haircuts after this, and I show you some videos. And the third step is we want to keep track of how things are going, whether that's just you, the mom, are going to give the bath the next 10 days. So you're going to know how much you can push and back off. Whether that with Max, he used to freak out in the community a lot. So we would have his mom rate the community outing on a scale of 1 to 10, and just write it in the physical calendar. And then also write down like things that worked or didn't work. So next time we're going to bring this to the grocery store. Or next time we're going to limit the trip to 15 minutes because he did really well in the first 15 minutes. So those are your 3 steps: assessment, planning, which includes practice and writing down the steps, and then taking some data, some easy data that's going to help you make the changes needed. So those are your 3 steps. I really encourage you, if you haven't done so already, I am getting ready to close the book launch team. So if you haven't joined us yet, you'll get all the information about how you can pre-order and how to join the launch team. You will need your customer number. We are not accepting people into the launch team without your verification that you purchased. Okay, and Lily Daisy, she is at work. She's in Australia, and she's gotten here every day for 15 days. I was thinking I wanted to do this at different times, and I'm like, I'm thinking Lily Daisy's not going to make it, but she's here. Excellent. Okay, so for bath time, this is from Liliana. My 4-year-old son loves it, but how do we do it so he won't freak out is this way. I pour water little by little. We name body parts: back, tummy, head. When I pour water on his head, I have to count to 3, then pour and prepare. Yeah, so you're doing it. You're pairing, you're naming body parts. Like with the COVID test, for instance, when I had to get Lucas a COVID test, he had COVID tests. He actually had COVID, so he got 3 COVID tests in total, I think. And they didn't go perfectly, but we know, like you're saying, name the body parts. For Lucas, it's counting, it's preparing, it's watching a video of somebody getting a COVID test, actually watching the person that was with him get their COVID test first, and then Lucas's COVID test, so he could see what was going to happen. You could practice with a little Q-tip, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, twist it, and give them reinforcement. So it's about breaking things down. It sounds like you're doing a great job, Liliana, with bath time in terms of repairing. Brushing teeth is another thing that oftentimes needs desensitization. We have somebody here from Florida, Maria Lava. I know I'm not pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry. Done the toddler course, read the first book, and saw most of your video podcasts, mom of a 24-month-old. And that's awesome. Join the Verbal Behavior Bundle. There's so much more to learn. Okay, we have a lot of comments here. Yeah, so Katie says, would these techniques help a child who does not like getting into a different car, even though it's the same car seat? I'm waiting for my pre-ordered book. Yeah, make sure you join the launch team. You can start to read it ahead of time. So if you don't know how to join the launch team, just go to turnautismaround.com and you'll scroll down, fill out your customer number, and you will be in. Yeah, it can work for different cars. It can work for, so one of the things, like if you know they're going to have a trouble switching cars, you could offer stronger reinforcement. So like if every time they get into the white car is when they usually have a fit. So you could, before get in and you get crying behavior, you could take pictures of the white car, pictures of the blue car with the car seat in each. You could pair, like you get an iPad or you get something special when you get into the white car because they're used to the blue car. We just need to up the reinforcement, but we need to up the reinforcement before we get any type of problem behaviors. It might, like for Lucas, it might involve a little photo book of the procedures. It might involve video modeling where another typically developing child gets into the car seat, into the white car, and we show her the video. So, that's the thing. It's like I'm teaching you basically how to fish, and all of this information in my book and my online courses are for informational purposes only. And I really know that we can empower parents to detect and treat the early signs of autism. We can have them really begin to turn things around to a greater degree. So yeah, anything that needs to be repaired can do so. Okay, so I'm only going to look at one or two more questions if they're specifically related to desensitization. Yeah, so Stacy said, when they're having a meltdown, temper tantrum, and you know everything is okay, should you walk away or try to console? It seems when I console and comfort my son, he screams louder. Everything I say, he will say the opposite. So Stacy, I did a Facebook, YouTube Live on problem behaviors. Let me see if I can find it when that was. Okay, so that was, I think, on 310, so day 10 out of 30, if you want to look after we're done. Or you can just search Mary, autism, tantrums, problem behavior. But the key here really, Stacy, is to spend 95% of your time preventing crying and temper tantrums. And then when he does have temper tantrums, if it's related to him being hurt, then you console. If it's related to him not wanting to do something or access to tangibles, I mean, there's different techniques, and it's covered in the tantrum chapter of my book too. I can't really tell you exactly what to do, but once a child starts having problem behaviors, it's no longer a win-win situation. And just in general, we just have to, like, say your son is having 10 tantrums a day, we need to really empower you to knock that down to, 1 a day. And then once you knock that down to 1 a day, you'll be able to be the Monday morning quarterback to prevent the problem next time. All right. Well, I think that's a good one to end on, because a lot of times when you don't have a desensitization plan and you definitely have problem behaviors that you're dancing around for very important visits to the doctor, dentist, haircuts, nail clipping, bathtubs, hair washing, wearing life jackets, getting eye drops, dealing with certain toys, switching cars, wearing different clothing, wearing shorts instead of pants, or wearing a coat and mittens if you're in cold climate. These things with Max at the beach, repairing the beach, repairing the sand, anything can be paired or repaired. And we're just scratching the surface here. So thanks for joining me today. If you're watching the replay, let us know where you're viewing from. And if you want to rewatch any of these lives, go to marybarbera.com/Facebook or /YouTube to rewatch any of the lives. I'll be coming on live every day in March in anticipation of my new book. Go get it now. Join our launch team. If you've watched this and enjoyed it, you only have a couple more days. We are going to be closing new members to the launch team very soon, and we're giving out prizes. The other day I gave out my first water bottle with Turn Autism Around on it. We're giving out prizes. You're going to be able to read the first good chunk of the book and be around really like-minded people to help me spread the word. So that's it for now. TurnAutismAround.com, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.